There we go. Good morning.
Hey, Peter, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you this morning?
So we are set up to do you have the ability to share screen right now?
Me? Yeah.
Okay. And if you click on it, it works.
Let me just screen 3 share. There you go. How's that?
Yep. So when we move to
And
you,
then when I go to these, I just thought it would be better. I can get these a little bit larger. And can you see my mouse moving around?
Yes.
So I can
Yeah.
focus people on what I'm talking about.
Yep.
I just realized that might be a little bit easier. So okay.
Yep. So whenever we push to you, you'll just share your screen instead of mine, and then I'll come back to mine.
Okay. Great. Will it be? Will I ever be big on the screen, or I'll just be small off to the side?
Yep. We'll spotlight you at the very beginning when you're talking before you share your screen.
Okay. So when I share my screen, that's when I'll go small.
Yep.
Great. Okay. And then stop share. There we go. Great. Okay. That works for me.
Great. I'm about to start adding people. Do you have any other questions? Anne, do you have any questions?
No, I don't think so. I'll probably just be silent and take notes unless there's something I feel like I need to add. But
Okay, awesome.
Great.
Just gonna make sure Sue doesn't have any questions.
So should I hide my video, or does it matter?
No, your video is great.
Okay.
Yeah, people will be on video.
Okay. Yeah, mute myself now?
Yeah.
So,
Katie, would you like me to admit everyone?
I was just waiting I was gonna make sure Sue didn't have any questions before.
Okay. Oh, when the time comes.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, we can all do it, and then just so that everybody gets admitted quickly.
Okay.
But I actually
And don't forget to rename yourself there.
Oh yes, thank you.
I have the video for how to raise hands Sean made. And so like kind of before we officially start, we could show that.
Sure. Let's go ahead and start admitting people, and then we can do that. All right.
Hi, Peter and Anne.
hey, Gretchen.
hey, Gretchen, good to see you.
You too.
Hey, folks. Excellent service as usual.
Agreed.
All right. This is boding well. People made their way from one room to the other.
It's all good. Morning, Sue.
Good morning.
Chris, I'm going to need your opinion on what we can pass through reconciliation later. Is that all right?
Say a little more about that.
I'm kidding. I was just joking. Since you're the parliamentarian, I figured.
Oh, you're gonna go for the deep motions, not just the
Yeah, I
want
to get some real work out of you today.
Whew. Well, I did once win a parliamentary procedure contest, but that was something.
Okay.
That was long
that
ago.
May literally, Chris, be the geekiest thing that I have ever heard.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of geeky things.
That's a pretty
impressive.
geeky thing. But really, if you boil it down to, it's some very fundamental, simple things, and all the extras just sort of flourish. Do people get heard? Does the majority rule? Do we enable people to hear what needs to be heard? I mean, beyond that, there's not a lot beyond that, believe it or not. But and Sue's equipped with some good things that, there's a lot of times when I sit through meetings and grit my teeth because people ask for a lot of motions that are not needed to be asked. And so it's going to be really helpful, I think, maybe as we go. Yeah, short and well, and it's do the work that we need to do. When people vote on something, it should be substantial. Really, I think that's when their voice needs to be heard, so they feel they matter. So it'll be cool. But yes, it's geeky. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate that.
Maybe this is a good icebreaker that people could put into the chat. Like, what's the geekiest or funniest like award you've won or contest you've been a part of?
I'll start it off.
I wonder. I imagine our community is filled with people that have various accolades from maybe obscure institutions or practices. So it'd be funny to see. Ooh, blueberry pie eating contest.
Oh, that sounds good.
That's impressive. I don't think I could do that. Not a fan of blueberry pie.
I mean, I had some British folks that I was competing in, so I felt like I did really, really well to the stiff upper lip thing.
I'm very jealous, Elaine, that Clifford came to your classroom.
That's pretty
awesome.
cool.
Bob's rules. I laughed at that.
So it's 10:15. Gretchen, do we want to show the hand raising video?
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll wait for a couple more people.
I think I have let's see if I can share this. Oh, I can, yes. Just answer John Hill's question. We need 58 members, so we're in good shape. All right, so I'm going to show this video, which Sean made quite recently. And it will give you a little info about some of the new tricks in Zoom.
To speak, we invite you to raise your hand. Navigate down to the reactions and click raise hand. That'll make the little hand signal show up on your picture. It also moves you to the top of the list so we can call on you. Once you're done, you can click lower hand. There's also a bunch of reactions that can help you share without speaking how you feel about what's going on in the meeting.
We could show it again. It was so
so
succinct.
Nice.
I mean, hopefully, generally you go to reactions and you raise your hand, or you also can then lower your hand, basically. I think that's all I have to say for now, Katie. So do you want to turn things over to Sue?
Yep.
All righty. Welcome, everyone, to this special congregational meeting of Foothills Unitarian Church. I am Sue Sullivan, and as president of the Board of Trustees, I call this meeting to order by lighting our chalice.
One moment. I'm not a host, so I can't spotlight Sue as I had intended.
I'm totally cool with that, but.
I mean, yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Okay. I call this meeting to order by lighting our chalice. May this flame remind us that we are gathering to do the work of this congregation and to further our mission of unleashing courageous love. We join together in this work to make our world brighter for all. We are a congregational denomination, which means each congregation is owned and governed entirely by its voting members. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm the use of the democratic process, and we use Robert's Rules of Order to guide our meetings. We begin with an announcement of quorum, followed by voting to approve the agenda and voting to approve our standing rules. Chris has given us some shortcuts here. So I understand that we do have more than 10% of members present, so we have a quorum. And the shortcut is, unless there are any objections, we will approve the agenda as presented. I just lost my little speech here, hang on. Oh, as presented in this slide. Throughout the meeting, if you have an objection or want to make a comment, you can raise your hand using the Zoom interface that Sean's video just showed us. You could wave at your camera, or you could type a comment into the chat. Board Treasurer Brendan Mahoney and Vice President Glenn Pearson will be watching for hands waved and chat comments. Seeing no objections, the agenda is approved. Our traditional standing rules are presented on this next slide. And if there are no objections, we will consider the standing rules approved as well. So the slide could change. There we go. Okay, those are the standing rules, the same ones we use each meeting. We'll consider those approved, and I'm going to begin the meeting with some background on what brings us together today: the proposed building expansion for our physical church campus. Then I will turn the presentation over to Reverend Gretchen Haley for some project overview remarks, and we will hear from Katie Watkins, our Director of Finance and Operations, who has been working closely with the building expansion team and the building expansion finance team. Members of those two teams are named and honored on this slide for the many hours, days, weeks, years of work that they have contributed. We will also hear from our excellent architect, Peter Ewers. Katie will then wrap up the presentation with an overview of the financial modeling for the project. And then I'm going to invite the fabulous Peg McMorris, a tireless member of both of the building expansion teams, to make the motion to move forward with the project as outlined. And that will procedurally allow us to open the floor for questions and discussion prior to a vote. I think we're going to link in chat to a detailed project brochure that our new communications manager, Kelsey Diastra, produced and emailed out last week. But I will briefly summarize our recent efforts and how we got to here. We started outgrowing our campus a decade ago. The congregation's growth accelerated after the 2016 election, as many new folks joined us in search of a liberal religious community. In 2017, we convened a space team. We calculated our building needs well into the future, and we determined that we could stay in our current campus and create the necessary doubling of square footage without having to move somewhere new. In 2018, we hired the firm of Ewers Architecture out of Golden, Colorado, who came up with an elegant master plan for expanding the campus. It features a new 400-seat sanctuary building and a rearranging and upgrading of the spaces in our existing buildings to better serve our needs. That entire plan penciled out to a little under $12 million, so we asked Ewers to plan for a multi-stage project that we could proceed with as our fundraising allowed. In the fall of 2019, we held an accelerated and hugely successful capital campaign, raising $6 million in just a few months. The building teams and the board saw that with those pledges, we were within striking distance of a stage 1 of the project that included the new sanctuary building and connected it to our standalone RE building and our existing social hall, sanctuary, and office wing. Nearly 1 year ago, we held a congregational meeting and voted to proceed to final design on phase 1 of this project, totaling $8.2 million. The following Sunday was the last service we held in our building, and we have been living in pandemic times and in virtual community ever since. In the early months of the pandemic, we watched the virus spread across the country, and we didn't know if an effective vaccine could be developed or when it might be available. We also didn't know what the economic impacts of the pandemic would be. We felt lucky that our timing was such that we could pause the project and wait for more clarity. Over the summer, as we collectively adjusted to the new normal, we started checking in with donors to see if they still felt able to make their pledges. And once we realized that the great majority of us were eager and able to press forward, we resumed planning, but with an eye towards a less expensive stage 1 that incorporated newly identified health and safety design changes. Through the fall and early winter, the building expansion teams met almost weekly, considering design changes to reduce costs without losing key features and functionality, and modeling various financing scenarios. In this morning's congregational meeting, we are essentially revisiting the decision we made nearly a year ago to proceed to final design, this time with a slightly smaller, significantly less expensive phase 1 of the project. We are at exactly the same design phase we were at a year ago. That means that the finer details of the project, fully 50% of it, are still to be decided. And there will be a number of congregational input meetings held in the next several months where our architects will ask us questions and present proposals and incorporate our feedback into their final design. What we need to decide on today is that we are ready to move forward to final design, that we approve the new project's scope and cost, and that we authorize staff in the building expansion teams to acquire the short-term and long-term debt needed to fully fund the project. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Gretchen, Katie, and Peter to share more details about the project and the next steps forward. And then through calling for a motion, we will open up the meeting to comments and questions. Okay, Gretchen, are you ready to take on the next piece?
Hi, sorry. Thanks, Sue. I think what I want to do is mostly just marvel at the moment. And I acknowledge just how incredible it is that we are a year, almost exactly a year later. And both in a sense of it's been, wow, think of the year, and also how incredible we could figure this out in just a year. I want to say thank you to the teams, the building expansion team, the building finance team. Thank you to Katie, who's come on board to take on support for this project, having really never been in our prior building. And yet helping us to imagine creatively and thoughtfully in the future building. And I want to say thank you to all of you. I think I know all of us remember so well last March, but I remember meeting with the building team who had worked so freaking hard up until that point, and having the sense of fear and grief and anxiety of what if all of this was ultimately going to have to be completely redone, and not knowing what their work was for in the end. And they kept, I will say, their steadfast willingness to keep at it inspired me, and I'm so grateful for their willingness to just keep going and to see it through. And so I'm so grateful that we can be here at this moment and to say, no, we're continuing to build forward. We're integrating the experiences that we've had in this year. We're growing through this time and looking ahead to be an even stronger church as a result of all that we've learned and experienced in this year. So I'm excited. I'm eager, as I think all of you are as well, to let's get going. Let's break ground. Let's move forward. And with that, I think I want to turn it over to Katie.
Thanks, Gretchen. I just want to step back to recognize the the teams by name who've been a part of this work for so long. So our building expansion team, who has, mostly focused on the design itself, and the way we would go about the design. There's an incredibly experienced group of folks who understand way more than I do about building and architecture and processes. And so that's Peg McMorris, Jerry Hanley, Chris Butlick, and Margaret Cottam. And they do meet almost every single week. They ask lots of hard questions, and it's been a real pleasure to get to work with them. And then the building expansion finance team is the group who has done a tremendous amount of calculating, spreadsheeting, forecasting, evaluating of opportunities, with just an amazing amount of expertise in that area. And that's Peg McMorris, Julie Pass, Eric Martinson, and Scott Denning. So thank you to all of them. We're going to try to demonstrate this morning for you the details of which they have been poring over for months and months, and on our entire congregation's behalf. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Peter, who is going to introduce us to the revised design and highlight some of the things that we're most excited about.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie. And Peter Ewers with Ewers Architecture, coming to you from my office in Golden, just down the road from you. And I have with me this morning Ann Ormsby, who have been working with a lot. If you guys have been at any of the meetings, you've met Ann, and she is coming to you from her home in Longmont. So thank you so much for this opportunity. We are incredibly excited to be at this point, and it's with great pleasure that I'm going to show you what the design is looking like right now and kind of walk you through a bit of that. So with that, I'll share. Okay, can you see my screen now? Did I do that correctly? Great. I got some thumbs up, so I'm good. Okay, so this the site plan is looking very, very similar to what it looked like previously. This is just to orient you. You've probably mostly seen this, but Drake Road is at the bottom of the screen here, and then Yorktown Drive to the left, and then on the north side, of course, Yorktown Avenue, and your main upper east entrance over here. And this is, though you may remember previous iterations that had a big drop off here, that was not part of the design that we were proceeding with a year ago. So really nothing has changed out here until you get up to the sidewalk. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. And so your current sidewalk up to the building is as it is now. And the entrance court, what we're calling the entrance court, is what your courtyard now is, with that big tree. One difference is the roof that comes across that connects the two buildings. Right now, we're going to remove that roof to create a more inviting entrance. And then the doors that currently go from the social hall out to the courtyard, those are going to become your main entrance. We're going to put new doors on them, so they're going to look nicer, function very easily, and you'll come into the entrance hall there. And so your current social hall, it becomes the entrance hall. However, it's even larger than that. You see this dashed line right here. That's where the social hall currently ends, and we're expanding a little bit further to that southwest. So that entrance hall is over 2,000 square feet, as you can see. The existing kitchen remains where it is. Future plan would be to move the kitchen, build a new kitchen, and your entrance would come through here. So this is not intended to be the permanent entrance to the building, but is that entrance until we can do another project to improve that. The existing sanctuary becomes the social hall. And so that's a nice big space. So you have over 2,000 square feet. At this point, there's no renovation to that space that is going to be done. So we'll be leaving the stage and the ramp up to it. That can be a future project to remodel the social hall. However, there is one important part that will be added to the social hall, and that is new HVAC, so new heating and air conditioning. Yes, air conditioning will be in that space, as well as the entrance hall. So currently the social hall and the current sanctuary, as you know, have heating only and can get very warm in the summer. Those will both have efficient heating and cooling systems. The administration wing stays pretty much as it is. There's no changes anticipated there, other than your current foyer area will be added to the administration area. So you'll have a little bit more space for some open office, and your current entrance doors will become just the admin entrance. So moving over to the more exciting areas, at least to me, we come in, as you come in and you're in the entrance hall, you may drop off your kiddos at the education wing. We'll have that new drop off area, which is just as designed before. I'll zoom in a little bit more here. And as you come down that hallway, we have a new unisex toilet area, which will be private stalls. But one change we have made are there are no doors to come in. So more like kind of that airport sort of thing where you can enter without touching anything. And of course, we'll have touchless fixtures for the plumbing. So drop the kids off at education and then head back over into the sanctuary. And this is kind of the main event, is a new 400 seat sanctuary. It's just rotated a little bit from what we had before, and you'll notice there's no curving wall out here, but it's still a 400 seat sanctuary. I think it's going to be beautiful and work very well. I love this aspect of it, which we had before and we have not lost, and that's the ramp. Also serves as kind of the hidden entrance to the stage. So it gives us more flexibility for types of performances that might occur in this space. You could be staging people even outside this door and come in and slip up the ramp and onto the stage. Or there's this storage room that can also be used as a staging area for some performance happening, and people can come out on stage, but you don't have to see them walking up onto the stage. So a little more theatrical. That's exactly as it was before. Really everything functions here as it did before. And I was really excited about that we reduced the overall size of the addition by about 1,000 square feet without really losing any functionality. The one thing you may notice is that we did have an expansion to this room that kind of linked the sanctuary space, and that was going to be the green room. So that is the one, I'd say the one obvious program element that was lost in this reduction. But I think overall, I was really pleased that we kept as many of the program elements as we did while reducing the cost. So. And okay, I just wanted to point out here the future projects that remain to be done are the social court. You may remember in the previous design, we had this beautiful social court out here, and we still have that beautiful space. Right now, you have the trees and grass out here, and that will remain until we can fund the full social court. So it's set up to have that in the future with the overhead doors from the social hall out to the social court. Those overhead doors would be future. Once we do the social court, you can have that really nice flow from the social hall out into the social court. But we've still got that west entrance. There'll be a little bit of paving out here because we have to safely get people out of the building because that's a fire exit, and loading from the west parking lot up to that west entrance. And the other future projects include finishing the space below the sanctuary. Is a big. You've got more than probably 4,000 square feet down there that would be more classrooms, an open space for kids to run around, and a chapel. None of that is actually going to be finished in this in this current phase, but it will be set up so that it's just an interior finish. The exterior walls will be there, the insulation will be there, the mechanical system will be capable of serving that. But right now it'll be what we call a big white box, just and a big empty space down on the lower level. And then things that were already planned for the future that were not a part of the project a year ago, but you may remember from previous iterations are the new entrance, like I said, coming in here through the kitchen. The kitchen would move over to this space. And then what we're calling the entrance court and the social court right now would become a children's playground. and we'd have an administration wing addition out here to give more space to that. And then of course, the remodel of the education wing. At this point, the only thing that's going to happen in the education wing is we are going to put in that elevator. That is a part of this project, but otherwise the education wing will remain as it currently is. So we look forward to that future project as well. So with that, I would like to shift to our three-dimensional view to walk you around that. And this is kind of the same orientation. Or here we go. This is the same orientation as that floor plan we were just looking at. This is the main addition out here. All of this, including this flat roof area, is the connector, the education wing, and of course your current sanctuary, the entrance hall there, and the admin. So excuse me, when you swing around here to your east entrance, this is your east parking lot and the current walk up. And as I mentioned, this roof that connects these right now is going to be removed. So you come right into that courtyard and your front doors are those two doors that are hidden by your big oak tree there in this view. But those two doors become your main entrance. And so then moving around here to, this is really going to be quite visible from Drake. And I think everyone will enjoy watching the construction go on and want to check out what is going on in your church. But what we've done here is this is moved a little bit down more toward Drake, so more visible. And we've used some cues from the existing church. You have these two clear story windows, this one in the sanctuary and this one in the stair in the education wing. They're not very visible, and maybe you don't even realize they're there because from the exterior they're tucked back from the side. We've taken that and we've brought it all the way out to the edge, so we create, in my mind, a little more excitement of what's going on there. And it still is that clear story window like you have in the existing church, but it is a little more visible, runs all the way to the edge of the building. So you see these soaring roofs and intersecting in an interesting way. And the other cue that we've taken from the existing church that we had before and we still have is that the concrete masonry units, or CMU as it's abbreviated, some people call them concrete blocks, or the real old term would be cinder blocks. These are not cinder, but these CMUs you can see on the current church at the front of the sanctuary. This was your last addition in the 90s, I think it was, when you just expanded the sanctuary a little bit and brought in this new material, this CMU that's not used anywhere else in the church. And we're going to be using that. So that'll start tying things together is what we're really trying to do here to make this one unified building, one unified campus. And by using that concrete masonry unit, we feel like we do that. It's a nice rusticated finish. And so we have the roof over the sanctuary. We have our roof over the stage area, and then this roof also is the northern part of the sanctuary. And you'll see all that as we move inside. We also, one of the benefits here is that this roof right here that I just highlighted got larger, and that's the primary roof where we're going to put photovoltaic panels. So we now have 100 photovoltaic panels shown on that roof that should be about a 40 kW system. And we anticipate that is going to provide all of the electric needs for this addition and hopefully for the new HVAC system for the social hall and the entrance hall. And we have more roofs that we can put photovoltaics on as needed, but that's a big part of this project and what we're doing. So some other sustainability elements that are really, really important to us, that the HVAC system I mentioned is most likely going to be located on this roof. It will probably be a variable refrigerant flow, VRF system, that's all electric. That is the most important thing. Once we have an all electric system that's very efficient, then we can offset that electricity used with photovoltaic panels or any renewable energy generation. So we're trying to eliminate natural gas from the building. There still will be natural gas used for the admin wing and the education wing until those are renovated. Once you have those renovated, you could literally cut the cord or cut the pipe from natural gas and have a totally net zero energy building and all electric. So that is very exciting for us, and that's something that we work toward on every project. So we're excited to bring that to Foothills Unitarian. Of course, we're going to we've got daylighting concerns. That's we're trying to bring in as much natural light as we can, so we don't have to use as much electricity for lighting. The HVAC system will also likely include plasma air cleaners to remove pathogens from the air. That's in the return air duct system. And of course, we're going to create a very tight and well-insulated exterior envelope far beyond code so that we reduce the need for heating and cooling as much as possible. Natural materials, low VOC, healthy materials with an emphasis on locally manufactured when we can. And all those sorts of things we're going to be paying attention to as we move forward. And lastly, as I'm looking at this three-dimensional view, I want everyone to know that I think Sue mentioned this in her presentation, that this is only 50% of schematic design. That's the point that we're at. So we have to finish the schematic design process. We have to go through design development and construction documents. So there are a lot of details and a lot of little nuances that still need to be decided upon. And so as you look at these, and as I move to the couple of 3D interior views that we're going to show, just know that these are not images trying to show exactly what it's going to look like. They are sort of placeholders, and we still have a lot of work to do to add those details that'll make it feel better and better as we proceed. So with that, I want to switch over to, this is an interior view of what the lobby will look like in a general sense when you walk in the front door. So we've just walked in the front door. We've got the windows here to the left that open onto the entrance court. And looking at this image going from right to left, on the right side here, you'll see this is your existing wood and glass wall looking into what is now your sanctuary, but is becoming the social hall. So that is the social hall, very inviting, open. And then as you move to the left here, we've got a reception desk shown. And then this is the door out to that future social court. That's your west entrance. So if you park in the west parking lot, you'd come in these doors. We've got a seating area here with glass looking into the sanctuary. That seating area is supposed to be kind of the cry area, or if there's for any reason you don't want to go into the sanctuary, but you want to watch what's going on, there will be speakers out here so you can hear what's happening. And then two sets of double doors into the sanctuary. And of course, if you turn left here, you go over, and that's the connection to the education wing. We're still showing the fireplace here. That's your stone fireplace that's in your current social hall. Not sure if that's going to stay or not. That we may just remove that entire piece, but it's shown in there right now. So with that, I want to take you into past these doors into the. If I can get my. Oh, here we go. There. So this is, if you were standing in the kind of the back left corner of the sanctuary, what you would see. And so you can see that the 400 seats jumps right out at you. But this volume that we've created with there's your high northwest facing windows that bring in natural light. So that's that clear story we've created. The windows on the left side are really, they're facing southeast, which makes you think that, gosh, I'm just going to be looking down Drake. But really, anytime that you're in that sanctuary, you're focused on the front of the front. You're focused on the stage. So as you're looking that direction, you're really looking more southwest, even though the windows themselves are facing southeast. We're going to take a little closer look at that in the coming weeks as we start designing again and see if we really are happy with that or whether there need to be any changes. Things like the video wall here, we need to really look at closer and see if we can increase the size of that. The stage design needs some tweaking. Colors and textures and things like that have not at all been decided. The big wood trusses that we're showing here, we do not have our structural engineer look at those yet. The spacing and the design of those could change. The wood ceiling, We may have some ductwork exposed that we need. Lighting needs to be designed, lots and lots of details, but this gives you a little bit of an idea of what that volume could and may look like. And we are really excited about this. We think that the new design, I feel in no way like we have compromised on the design. I think this is a fabulous design. In some ways, I think it fits into the existing building better than the previous design, and creates a fun, exciting, inviting space that you can use for many, many years into the future. And we are really excited to be here working with Foothills Unitarian and with Pinkard Construction. And thank you for this opportunity. We look forward to moving forward with you. So with that, I'd like to turn it back to Katie.
Okay, we're going to take a moment to pause and answer some of the questions that have been in the chat. So if you have a question that you wanted to ask, you can add it to the chat and we'll get to it just in a second. I'm going to invite Peter and the building team to pipe in and answer questions as it makes sense. So let's see. There are lots of comments about people loving the design and appreciating things that we were able to keep that are similar to our original, the building as it's designed currently in our current sanctuary. Let's see here. Corey Carroll asked, the biggest question is the future of meeting COVID-19 will be managed, but likely there will be future viral threats that may change the quote unquote normal large group meetings forever. Is there any guidelines from other groups that would help us decide if creating a large space now may be moot? Gretchen, do you want to respond to that?
Oh gosh, I was hoping Peter was answering that one. Yeah, I'm happy to take a stab at it, and then if the building team wants to add to it, I mean, I think that there's a lot unknown, and so I think we build with a sense of trying to integrate the safety that we know of now, and Peter and his team has done quite a bit of research to think through and continue to be on the front end of thinking about what's happening with large spaces, and I mean, I think the choice you're pointing to is not building a large space as the alternative. And I haven't gotten any sense that there isn't at least some degree of continued impulse towards large gathering spaces. And our space is not even that large, really, 400 people. So I haven't heard anything yet. And I get your question. And I think we're taking the leap of faith that there's at least going to be some degree of at least 400 or so, 300 to 400 people willing to gather and integrate. Oh, the other thing I did think when you asked this question, Corey, was I think it's part of the reason that we're really invested in thinking through how to make the space as flexible and integrated with the online experience as possible. In that this year has definitely taught us that we need to be as integrated and flexible as possible. That's both about safety and about just access overall. So, that's my take on things. And certainly Peter or a building team, if you guys have other responses, go for it.
I have just a couple of things to add to that, which is that, from the ministry side of things, we've been working really hard on maintaining a perspective that we aren't going back to the way things were. We're forging a new path. And we're really grateful that the building project had the opportunity to reflect that we do think there will be shifts. It's not going to look like it looked before. And there will be more online integration than we would have done otherwise. And then also the new sanctuary space, as you've seen how spaces have been utilized during this time, the new sanctuary space, its size gives us more flexibility, even in a limited capacity than we currently have. Our current building size makes it difficult to use, at all during this time. Diane Hutchinson asked about the acoustics and for services and music. Peter, do you have a response to that?
Sure. We have an acoustic engineer on our design team, and that is one of the very first things that we're going to be doing as we start moving forward, is showing the acoustic engineer what the shape of the space we've created thus far is and ask for inputs on materials, where we need to put sound absorptive materials for the best acoustics, or if they may suggest some changes to the volume and to the shape of the space. And all of that, because we're only at 50% schematic design, is possible. So we're definitely, that's a part of our focus as we move forward.
Jody Donovan asked if we have any idea on when, how we might be able to provide more space for the admin wing. And one note just to remind is that there will be additional space, even though there's no add-on, because we are taking the current foyer, which will now be part of the admin wing, and that will allow us some more flexible space. It will bring in the office at the back of that room to be more integrated with that space. But a full remodel of that space will hold for a next phase that we would fundraise for and work toward once we complete this phase. Marion and Rick Wells asked about solar storage, and Jerry Hanley actually brought this up later in the chat as well, that solar is actually not part of this particular phase. However, the building expansion team has done a lot of research on this, and they do believe that we should have a way to pursue it where it's we're not paying the actual cost of solar. So that is not part of what Peter is coordinating for us, but it is something that we're looking at to figure out how we do that and do that as soon as possible. Let's see, lots more.
Katie, if I could just piggyback onto that, if that's okay. Peter speaking here. Also, one of the really exciting things is the electric authority that serves Fort Collins is their goal is to be 100% renewable by 2030. So by creating a fully electric building, even if we don't get the photovoltaic panels on right away, your electric authority is leading the way in sustainability and renewable power generation. And so if we have a fully electric building, and even if we're using the power from the electric authority, then we're still a giant leap ahead. But yes, I absolutely agree that there are ways to put photovoltaics on a building without having to pay up front too, and we'll be helping to look at that, and that's absolutely our goal. Thanks.
Just a couple comments. I think Peter on the design, Connie Witt has mentioned that the handicap stall is always the last one, and she thinks we should consider making it the first one where the door opens to approach the room rather than on the back side. It's easier and closer. There is a comment from Reagan O'Keefe that could the entrance doors be made to automatically open like in grocery stores to reduce touch points? Tom and TC Rhodes have asked, what are our thoughts about the people currently living on our campus? So I think most people know that Family Housing Network is housing, we have, I think, 5 families currently staying with us. Our arrangement with them is currently through May, so that we can hopefully be moving forward on this project, which they are planning and hopeful that they would be able to work again with other congregations at that time. But we will be really flexible and do all that we can to make that as supportive and to transition that program in a way that's helpful for all of the families. Marty asked, was it necessary to eliminate the curved wall at the front of the church? So Peter, you can speak to what the curved wall did from a financial standpoint.
Okay. Do you want me to respond to the accessibility issues as well, the parking and the door?
Back for now that we can, yeah, I think it's, yes, sure.
Okay. The code actually requires accessible stalls to be as close to the building as possible and to be the first stalls that are available. We don't, in this project, we're not anticipating any changes to the parking, so we're not going to be able to change that now, but we are looking toward the future where we'll have the drop off and the accessible parking was going to be moved at that time and be closer, and the front door, rather than being off of the entrance court that we have now, will be where the kitchen is and be closer. All those things I think will be improvements and will help that accessibility. And yes, the doors can be, and often we need to have automatic openers on those doors. They probably won't be like a supermarket where they're just kind of always open, but well, I guess some supermarkets have that that big opening and it's always open. They have an air curtain and that uses a lot of energy. We don't want to do that, but having an automatic opener on the doors absolutely is something we can consider, is not terribly expensive and sometimes is required for exterior doors for various reasons. But and then, sorry, what was the other? What was the question that you?
Is it necessary to remove the curved?
Oh, the curve. Yes. That was. It was just a part of the whole redesign effort, and we ballparked that curve at around $100,000. That was when we were talking to Pinkard Construction about what we can change, and they agreed. And I think that might have been a low estimate because we didn't have any of the structure design, and I think there would have been more structural gymnastics that maybe would have cost more, kind of those unforeseen costs. Was it absolutely necessary to remove? No, but it was a part of the entire effort to say, how can we still have a fabulous project and get it down to the budget we need? Because it wasn't only about reducing $1 million of cost, it was also about offsetting the increase of construction costs that's happened over the last year. So it was a significant change that was needed, and we felt like this. Sorry, I'm still looking at the screen here with the image of the interior of the sanctuary up, and I'm excited about it. I don't think, in my mind, we haven't lost it. Just throwing a curve at something is not does not always make it architecturally better. And I think we still have an interesting, fabulous project. So.
I noticed, this is from Brian Hulse, I noticed that the clear story windows are facing toward the northwest. Would it be better to have it on the opposite side so that it faces the southeast and gathers sun in the mornings when the sanctuary will be at its fullest?
Yeah, that's a good question, and we are going to be looking at that. One option is to kind of flip the whole thing, but a lot of times you don't want that direct sunlight. For daylighting, daylighting is best done with indirect sunlight, and so that's we may. I'm sure there will be some sort of shading devices that are used on both of those windows. On an evening event, you may not want that setting sun streaming in those northwest facing windows. So we will need to mitigate that, as well as mitigate the southeast facing larger windows when you're meeting in the morning. So all those will be looked at. I think both of those directions, southeast and northwest, light can be wonderful light, but can also be something that needs to be mitigated. So
I think that's a good reminder of how much there is still left to be decided, that at this point we are moving forward into making those final decisions, as opposed to everything being exactly as it's presented right now. The footprint is finalized, but there's so much that will be decided as we go through this next phase. Is the foyer plan that is currently exist have any future redesign, reutilization in another phase? I think the answer to that is no, right? It's the way we have it designed now, it's complete.
correct.
Yeah, and I think just to note, it may seem large, but if you have all the folks flowing in at the same time to that space, it won't feel large. So it's like it's just a matter of proportion. Katie, I wonder if we want to say just there's a couple like generic, I know you're trying to manage both reading and managing the back and forth. So I want to note just from my review as you guys were running through those things, a couple of things. First of all, there's a lot of questions about feedback about the sanctuary and the design of the sanctuary. I believe that will probably be some of our biggest conversations in these coming weeks, is the specific designs around the sanctuary and how that comes together. So I think if you all are okay that are asking those questions, if we can hold for the most part and have those conversations with Peter in the next couple of weeks, I think months. I know I have a lot of particular things I want to talk about the sanctuary. So I think though, I trust those things will come. And then the other thing that came out that I saw was questions about the what we're doing in terms of supporting families with this design in this first phase. And this has been a huge part of the conversation going through, not just this time, but in the prior time. And I want to note that lower floor in the under the sanctuary is still usable space. And so I think even though we are not going to build it out in this phase, it's usable, and I'm confident that our RE team will use it. And also the integration of this 2 buildings and the check-in place for if you've ever tried to drop a kid off in the classroom wing, you know exactly that how hard it is to find a place where you can safely check your kid in and out. And so both of those are really big and important parts of how we're addressing the needs of families in this stage. And there, one other, just know, like all of these are, I love that we want to do more. And as soon as we have more money, we will do more. And so if you are inspired and feel compelled and want to do more, then Katie is ready to receive your additional pledge. And we're eager to do more as well. So I think it's just think of this is not the end. This is just getting us going. Let's get this going, and then let's do the next thing. And know that we're all very eager to do the whole master plan. I think those were the kind of there's a few other very specific questions. And if there's anything that somebody said that is asking that would get in the way of being able to move forward at this stage, if you can lift it up once again, I think that will help us move through to, we next want to talk about somebody asked about the money. That's the next part of the presentation.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and move us to that. And then if you have an additional question, we'll address that at the end.
Great, thank you.
Let me just pull back up the slideshow, sorry. So at the end of all of the work that was just presented, the building expansion team, who we highlighted earlier, had this to say about the design. The building expansion team enthusiastically endorses this new design and funding package. The new design includes most of the features we loved about the original, converting the existing social hall into an entryway and foyer, a connection to the RE building with room for a check-in station, and installation of an elevator in the RE building. The majority of the cost savings came from eliminating some square footage and changing the shape of the sanctuary. Otherwise, the plan is very close to the design approved in 2019 or 2020, actually. The landscaping, the social court, finishing the sanctuary basement, and some of the outer hardscape can all be added as smaller projects in the future, or now, as Gretchen mentioned, if they're funded. And it maintains the integrity of our original design, providing us with a beautiful, functional, energy efficient building that will serve us well into the future. So with that, we'll move into the financing part of this, the revised design. So like I mentioned earlier, we were in so many ways really grateful that we weren't 6 weeks into building this project when the pandemic happened, because that enabled us to really reflect on where we were and what the building looked like, and was it feasible for us at this time. And as we move toward the vote in this meeting, I want to help orient everyone to the reason we're voting again now is because we are saying, is this the right package for us right now, given what we've learned in the last year? And so we want to move forward having taken all of that into consideration. The finance team did a phenomenal job exploring many options. We had conversations with lots of different types of funders. When we presented last year, we were mainly looking at the CPACE loan, which is a state guaranteed loan. That is still an option. CPACE is a percentage of the construction cost. So in reducing the construction cost, the amount that can be funded through CPACE is also reduced. So we know that we will need CPACE and something else in order to be able to do this. Our debt amount is similar to where we were last in the last version. What we've reduced is the additional that we were going to go out and fundraise right away. So we went from being over 2 million over to being closer to $1 million mark. The final package of what financing we will utilize will be decided as we get this project going. We have spoken with all of these folks and understood what it will take to receive this financing, but the actual loan details will be determined based on what our funding situation looks like at that time. So to that end, it is helpful, and people have done such an incredible job, and we have benefited from an extra year of fundraising in terms of the gap funding we will need. But continuing to play pledges on time, if you have the ability to speed up your timeline, all of that helps reduce our costs in financing. So over the next few weeks, we'll be, as we start this process, we'll be finalizing the finance package from the list of lenders that we've identified here. We are presenting today the most expensive version of that, so that we hope it will actually end up being less than what we're showing, because there are a variety of different interest rates based on which lending model we use. But we're showing you the one that is the most expensive, in case that ends up being the route that we go, with the hope that we'll get to come back with good news not too far down the road. So this package is not to exceed $1.5 million in debt post the fundraising time. So our timeline for fundraising is through the end of 2024. At that point, we would not have more than 1.5 million to hold over in a mortgage for the long term. We do plan to keep fundraising and to work toward that. And again, that is the not to exceed number. We just reduced the total project by about $1 million, shrinking the gap in the project cost to $1.4 million. We did extensive cash flow analysis. I cannot tell you all how incredibly detailed Eric Martinson's spreadsheet is. There are so many parts and pieces that went into being able to analyze how we would make payments during the process, as well as in the future, and to look really closely and feel like we were being conservative on behalf of the congregation, to plan a right-sized project to where we are now that is fiscally responsible and comfortable for our congregation. So just as a comparison, and again, I want to caution you, these numbers were presented for a different time in 2020 to where we are to 2021. And the question before you today is this 2021 package the right fit for us right now? So the total project cost was reduced from 8.2 million to about 7.4 million. The construction cost went from 6.5 to 5.7. Just a small note, there was an increase in actual construction materials during that time. So we had hoped to reduce the cost even a little bit further, but one of the reasons that we want to have that we are having this vote now is we want to move as quickly as possible to maintain construction costs at the level they are at, as opposed to incur the construction costs are always rising. So the further we go out into the future, the more expensive this project gets. The total long-term debt of the original project was 1.6 million. The total long-term debt is 1.5 million now. And the gap between the project cost is 2.256 versus 1.4. And we have raised $5.9 million in pledges. Of that, we've already received 3.5 million. So that is thanks to all of you. I joined this congregation in August, and what a phenomenal testament to the faith and value that everyone has in this project, that during an uncertain time, pledging and these commitments have remained really strong across the congregation. The building team, finance team, after exploring all of that, put together this endorsement of the project. The building expansion finance team has been exploring details of funding the project. We have assessed the pledge donations, long-term and short-term loans from various sources, including CPACE, local banks, the UUA, Fort Collins, the Community Foundation of Northern Colorado, the Foothills Endowment Fund, and member notes. At this point, it's too soon for final loan approvals and confirmed interest rates, but the team has created scenarios using the high end of projected rates. These models give the team, along with the staff and ministry, a projection of payments going forward. We endorse passing the proposed design with confidence in the church's ability to meet the interest payments and fund the newly designed building project with a total cost of $7.4 million. So that's the details around the finances that for where we are now. There are I could spend 3 hours walking through the financial details, and I am willing to do that if anybody who would like to explore this more on a higher level. But I do assure you that that team spent an inordinate amount of time going through that on everyone's behalf. But if you have questions beyond what we cover here today, don't hesitate to reach out to me about either the design or the funding itself.
So, Katie, there's just 2 questions that were left over that people wanted to answer before we moved forward.
Okay, great.
So the first is it about bathroom capacity, and I'm hoping Peter will answer that. And have we added enough bathrooms? And then also just if we can expect any cost increase or delays due to all that's happening in Texas or any other various catastrophe that might be headed our way. And then the last one that just looks like it came through from Corey was asking about groundbreaking. If it moves forward, I can answer that one quickly, which is if all goes well, we're hoping for an October, November groundbreaking and with a occupying no later than Christmas 2022. We said we're exactly a year after the last year's projections. So, so Peter, will you answer those real quick?
Sure, absolutely. The bathrooms, yes, the bathrooms that we have provided. It is a fair amount of increase from what we had before. In the future, we'll have more bathrooms on the lower level as well when we remodel or when we finish that space. But it is within the code requirements, and it's an increase. And we don't anticipate that changing more as we move forward with the design. But if the church has concerns that we don't yet have enough bathrooms, we have enough bathrooms by code. But if you feel like there are more, then the building expansion team could instruct us to look at how we could add more. But we feel like this is an appropriate increase. What were other questions about the?
About Texas.
One.
So what's happening in Texas right now or future catastrophes affect the cost of building materials?
Boy, the cost of building materials is a huge swing, and some of the weird things that have happened this last year have affected building materials cost. And yeah, something like what's going on in Texas or what has happened in Texas over the last week certainly could, although we're still many months out from starting construction. So hopefully any change there might be mitigated by that time. But we do have contingencies for that sort of thing. Pinkard Construction has their own contingency that they carry, and then the Foothills Unitarian has a 10% contingency over the entire project. So all told, we have about 13% in contingencies for that sort of thing and any other cost that increase that may arise.
And just to be clear, for those who don't know, the contingency is funds actually we have already budgeted to cover things that are not anticipated. So that is part of the total funds we've presented. I want to assure everyone that we will download the chat when this is over to take in all of the feedback about potential things for us to consider in this next phase and make note of these comments.
There's a couple of finance questions, Katie, that I'm hoping you can answer. So the first is from that I see as Liskins, the $1.5 million is the long-term debt carried by a traditional mortgage, 30 years, 25. Just can you give us a little more info on that?
Yep. So we have the current debt structured to go out through 2047, which is I think 25 years from completion date. So it is a more similar to a traditional mortgage. Again, we're working on the most expensive scenario. So we do hope that we have lots of newcomers who are converting to members. We've had people who have not yet pledged, and so we hope that we'll be able to limit how long we carry that debt. We think it's unlikely it would be that long, but that is what we are basing it on. The annual payment is about $114,000 on that rate if we were to carry it as it is. And then there was
And let me just follow up on that. So just to be clear, our goal is to be as low of long-term debt at the end of this as possible. So our hope is that we end this process with much less than $1.5 million of long-term debt. So those annual payments would be way less. It will require additional fundraising, which we think we will do. We just are a little too early to make that specific plan. A couple people have asked about additional fundraising and if people are increasing pledges, and we haven't asked. And it's hard to make a case for a building that people have never been in. And so some of the newer members, I think mostly at this point, we're thinking as we get back into the building and move towards breaking ground, that these are opportunities that for thinking about increasing our pledge base. But for now, I think we're kind of like, okay, this is our worst case scenario. And we think it's going to be much better than that.
And there are a couple of questions about raising additional money. So Lori asked a question, and so did Ed Meek. And so I just want to be clear that the last campaign we did for pledging for our annual pledge was in 2019, right? So when we did the pledge campaign for the building, we asked everyone to maintain their pledges. So new members have not yet been asked for a pledge. And this model that we're presenting is not based on additional fundraising. It is if we had the amount of money we have today, that we believe that the church's budget, based on where we're at and based on our traditional growth, can handle the payments, even if we did no more fundraising for this phase. There are a couple of questions about parking, about the playground, and about the choir space within the building. And I just want to note that parking and playground, those were future phases already. So those things have not been touched, but what we have maintained with this project is the ability to have a phased approach, that we are building things in a way that allows us to continue building on as our resources make it a possibility. So there is nothing other than that green room, because of the extensive cost to make exterior walls interior, that we really have taken off the table permanently. And so just keep that in mind when you have questions about those things that maybe didn't appear in this particular design. Let's see.
We're close.
And on the choir one, I just wanted to say that is part of what Gretchen kind of referenced, that she has a lot of thoughts about we've talked about a choir and the choir approach and how the stage works for that. So that is all part of what will be designed in this next piece.
I think they're calling the question. I think that's what the can we vote means. So I will turn it over to back to the governance version of all of us. So parliamentarian, etc. Go for it.
Hi, everybody. Yes, it does sound like we're getting to the point where folks would like to vote. We didn't quite do this in the order I was thinking we would, which was to make a motion first, but Peg McMorris has been standing by, I believe, to make the motion that we could vote on. Peg, do you want to unmute and...
I believe I'm unmuted.
Wonderful. Okay.
Okay. I move that Foothills Unitarian Church authorize the next phase of the building expansion plan as drafted by the building expansion team and the building expansion finance team, and as affirmed by the Board of Trustees.
Okay. Thank you, Peg. Theoretically, we might need a second. Oh, there, Sue Ferguson seconds. So originally I had been thinking we would have the discussion at this point, but I am seeing people essentially call the question, which is Robert's rules for calling for a vote. If we are prepared to do that, the church staff has prepared a webpage where we can vote relatively anonymously. You would go to this page. Yes.
One quick thing. So technically, as a parliamentarian, since
Yes.
people have called the question, now it's open for discussion. But somebody said we want in discussion right now. We want to limit debate. We're done. So we have to have 2/3 of the people that say yes, debate's done. We're ready to vote before you vote. So there's 2 steps.
Okay. I am not clear how we will
That's the
count.
part I don't know.
I think for
Right.
this part, we can raise hands. How's
We can.
that?
Okay, yes. So the question is, are we ready to move to a vote?
Are you
And
willing to limit debate?
are you willing to limit debate? And we can use the reactions button or wave, I think, if folks are willing to move on. Okay, I'm gonna do a little hand here just to show what that looks
We
like.
get two. What about two
Hmm.
votes on one account?
You could put two hands up.
The way we did that before is if there's two people there, one of you raise your hands and the other one put a note in the chat.
Here's the way, right, okay, that sounds good. I would recommend too, and this is the whole brand new world of onlineness, is that we make sure we say both. So this is limiting debate, and then we can say who votes no, and then everybody else is essentially abstaining. So we can compare the numbers rather than having to make sure this is 2/3 of the people present.
Okay, so our next step then is what, Chris?
Well, so we have yes votes. We need to have an idea what the yes votes are, and then we can call for no votes and see who would like to not limit debate.
Jumping in here, it may be easier to use the yes or the no reaction.
I suggest.
Just because then we could count rather than the hands, which is a little bit confusing. And then we can vote at the same time. So I would suggest people go and lower their hands, and then how are we not allowed to use the yes and no in this one? I don't see them for me.
I don't see them.
Yeah, they're not there. Well, that's fun, isn't it?
Mm.
It was a really good idea though.
Right.
So do we have an idea? Is anybody tallying the yeses? That's the question.
I mean, I think that we have somewhere in the 40-ish range of hands at some point. And then if we go through the yeses here.
I see something similar. It's got to be in the high 30s.
So I would say, yeah, we probably have somewhere in the range of 50 or so yeses to limit debate. And so you could call for then
noes.
if there are any no's.
Yeah, so lower your hands and then call for the
Everybody
noes.
needs to lower their hands, and then we got to call for the. I think I can do it. Hold on, I can lower everybody's hands.
Oh, ooh, power.
Okay, so now you can ask for the who votes no on limiting debate.
Which wants to continue conversation before they would be willing to vote.
Yes. This would be a vote to continue the discussion.
So the vote,
I don't know.
So the way it works, let me explain it again. So this is to make sure that we don't have people that are getting trounced by the majority. The simple majority, this is exactly why this rule is in place, is that everybody said, hey, we don't want to vote, but people still want to talk about it. This is the way. So we are voting, call the question, limits debate. 2/3 of the people have to say, yeah, we're ready to vote. So as long as that's what we're trying to do here, just make sure that we're not ramrodding something through. I'm not seeing any no votes. So I think that I would, as parliamentarian, I would say you are good to vote.
Okay, so in that case, maybe we can link one more time to the page that you can click on. You will go there. It will ask you if you are a member. We are operating on the honor system partially for this initial vote, but we are also asking you for your email address just so that we can confirm that your vote should be recorded. And then it will ask you for a yes or a no vote on this moving forward with this building phase 1 redesign as we have discussed. So if everyone can click through to that now, Gretchen, I think we had originally talked about having a nice music video, but we could do other things. Okay, so there's no screen for voting. You want to click on foothillsuu.org/congvote/. It's a link in the chat. And when you click on it, it takes you to the church website page where you can vote. I'm going to do that right now.
Do it again so you can.
If anyone's having trouble with it, we can come up with some alternatives for you too, including emailing to.
Juanita has looks like a question because you raised her hand.
Okay, sorry.
Juanita?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe not. She lowered her hand.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself if you're having problems or you want to ask a question. Just go ahead and do that in chat.
And if you're voting on behalf of 2 people, you can complete the form 2 times.
So I'm just looking for my name in the list here on the chat.
No, you're just gonna go to the link. So it's totally a separate window.
Where do I find that? I'm not that good with the
Can I say,
computer.
keep putting the link in. Yeah, exactly. Keep putting the link in
So-
every 30 seconds.
You walk into the Lincoln.
Yeah, so if you open your chat window, that's near usually the bottom of your screen. If it's an iPad, it's near the top of the screen. And then you'll see a list of kind of commentary, and several times there's a blue, usually link.
Yeah,
Click on that and you should be able to get in there.
I'm looking for the link though.
It should be right at the bottom of the list of all the sort of interactions people have shared.
One from Katie and one from Sue.
Yeah.
Any success?
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'm not seeing in the chat where this link is. Here it is. Okay, I found it. Okay, we'll try again. So far, it's not coming up for us. Okay. Okay, we found it.
Thomas, do you have a question? I see your hands raised.
Sorry.
No.
We could have some Jeopardy music in the background. Dun, 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 dun.
We've had 122 responses, so we'll just give a couple more minutes for people to finish up.
That's pretty good.
Well, we have,
Yeah.
is that total vote? Because we have 120 participants,
It's
Windows
close.
Live.
It's just because there's 2 in some
Multiple.
cases.
I'm trying to figure out how to get the second vote in from our house.
So you should be able to close your window and basically open it again.
Okay,
Click the link again.
all right.
It also says submit a separate response, an additional response.
Yeah, you can do it that way.
I did not say that, or at least I didn't see it.
You can go back in and use a second email address. That's
One of the beautiful things about our time together is all the learning that's taking
Deb.
place.
It's really frustrating. Okay, wait a minute. All right.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna give us 1 more minute and then we'll have the tally. If anyone's still having trouble, wants to speak up.
I'm just doing this now. Hang on for the second one.
I will say that we've wondered this whole time of being online how to figure out a version of anonymous voting and
Got
make it work. And so I'm excited if
Well,
it
I can't shut off
does
my
work.
microphone.
Okay, so now
Let me get out of this screen, go back.
can I turn my sound off?
So Alt A usually works for turning your sound off if you are struggling.
I was able to use the link to vote, but it would not allow me to put in my email.
Do we have somebody who can receive votes and preserve anonymity?
Yes, so if you send it to, Katie's doing our tallying, so you can send it to Katie. If you can't figure out the form, you can go right to her email address. I just put it in the chat. It's katie@foothillsuu.org. So she's our keeper of the vote. So as a last resort, that's it.
Alternatively,
I
you
had
can
to
also-
click around several times in order to get it to allow me to put in my email, but it finally did.
Yeah, when I did it, I was clicking below that, and I had to move up a little bit.
You have to click right on the letters that say email.
I think Katie, are you good?
Yep, I just sent the total to Sue.
Great, Sue, go for it.
I see that we have 145 responses, and the motion passes with, what are our no's at? I think it's
141 yes and 3 no.
and 3 no's. So I'm happy to say that we are moving forward with the final design phase of this project, and we will have multiple opportunities for congregational feedback and input in the coming months. I don't know if there'll be full-on design charrette style things, Peter, but we will be having plenty of opportunity to discuss the questions that are raised today. We're copying out that chat. And sending it around to the relevant teams and architects so that they're aware of the things that folks are interested in and concerned about. And I'm tremendously excited about this. I don't see here.
Woohoo!
Yes, woohoo! I didn't write a closing, so I'm kind of.
I'll hang around for just a few minutes in case there's any extra questions. My guess is that Peter can do that as well. Not for too long, but for a few minutes if you guys have anything pressing. Otherwise, have a great week and thank you so much for being here.
Extinguishing the chalice. Wonderful work, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna stick around too just to hear what everybody's talking about.
The meeting's closed.
The meeting is closed. It's adjourned. The meeting is adjourned. Sorry, Robert's rules. Okay.
I feel like the rules are hard enough for people that are new to them in person, but you add in the Zoom component. It's just like, you just got to keep the sense of humor because it's really like, ah.
Yeah, you can't actually see people. The technology is always frustrating. It never really gets smooth, and no matter how much experience, I agree.
But the collective brain power we have at our disposal here with all these people in the room is pretty astonishing. So no problem there.
Wonderful.
Look, I'm happy to see Jeff Barnes logging on. Hi, Jeff. Maybe Jane over there. Logging on from Costa Rica.
All right.
All right, for anybody who hung around, is there a question you want to ask anyone on the team or things that are pressing? You just wanted to hang around, hear what other people's questions are?
Maybe we should cheer. So that can be exuberant.
I do have a question. This is Erin Price. I'm going to try to switch view. I don't know how many people are here. And I honestly don't know the answer to this question. I had raised an issue early on about hiding the handicap accessible ramp from view. Initially my concern was, how does that feel to people who are wheelchair users to kind of have to leave the space in order to access the pulpit? And it's changed now. What Peter had to say about, this like enables us to do some cool theatrical stuff, that makes a lot of sense to me. But I'm wondering if we're getting input from people who have been longtime wheelchair users about how that feels to have to leave the space to access the stage. And so I just want to do a quick shout out to are we involving disabled people in some of these decisions that would impact them directly to make sure that that feels like we're still welcoming them to be on the pulpit, to be an active part of the church. So I just want to lift that up, and it's lovely to see you all. Thank you for all your hard work. You're wonderful.
Thanks, Erin. It's interesting. It came up in the board conversation this week, kind of the framework that you're suggesting. And so I think that we can just be pretty intentional in thinking about how to be accessible, like center accessibility and integrate accessibility. So I know that's all, we all value that. So it's just it's good to be mindful. So thank you.
Shout out to the team who did all of this incredible, detailed, hard work, from our lovely architect who's been incredibly flexible with changing circumstances, and as well our team, both the design team and the financial team. This is an enormous amount of work. I'm totally awed by financial geniuses and design geniuses. It's really exciting. I'm really looking forward to the new space. Thank you.
I second that, Anne. Truly, I'm excited. I saw all the things that I thought we were asking for. Some of the lines and shapes have changed, but I see what's ahead, and I'm super excited. And I also appreciate the conversation. Just a second, what Erin brought up about just moving, how we can improve our language and also accessibility for all ages that use our bodies differently.
All right, it sounds like there's not.
Okay, Any other questions that you'd like to ask? There are lots of good ones in the chat, so we'll be sure to follow up. All right.
All right.
Well, it's good for now. I'm gonna go go check in on the tail end of that second service. See who we can now officially see who didn't come to the congregational meeting, I guess. So
Thank you everyone for your participation. It was fabulous. It was a great turnout and
totally awesome.
Yes. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, team.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
So is Peter still there?
I am.
Good. So I think we have to start getting those meetings set up that you had asked for. And I sent a message to Katie asking her to get Gretchen's input first and before we start scheduling. So, I mean, this will involve both the staff and members of the congregation in particular aspects. And I think we'll want to have somebody from our team present at each of those. So if not the whole team. So we'll get working on that soon.
Great. I look forward to it.
Thanks so much for your wonderful tour.
Yeah, this is exciting. Really cool. Yep. We are ready.
All right, thanks everybody.
We are too.
I'm gonna close it out, and then Peg, I'll follow up with you on that that message.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks, Peg.
Thanks.
Good to see you, Jerry.
Katie, a quick question. So our next team meeting will be being part of these design inputs, or are we going to have a
So I think
Peg?
I think we might need to have a quick meeting to give input on who needs to be at the meetings that Peter has requested. So we need Gretchen's input first, and then we need to start amplifying participation beyond just staff. So we may need to meet this week. So
I'll put it on the calendar, and we can make a plan then.
yeah, we'll go around and figure that out.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, thanks all.